and welcome back to Cuckoo for Books. My name is Salva and today we are on our way to the Becky and Adam book signing here in Manila. I'm so excited. If you guys watch my book review, you'll know that What If It's Us is my very first LGBT novel that I've ever read. So to celebrate that, I tried my best to wear a rainbow shirt. So if you guys are there, I'm super excited. So I will see you guys there.
We're both so grateful for the opportunity to have traveled both to Cebu and now Manila, to be here to finally meet you guys. I feel like this has been years in the making, so we're so thrilled to be here.
We got to spend some time in Cebu and of course the Philippines. What Filipino dishes have you tried and what is your favorite so far?
So this is like such an embarrassing thing to admit, but I came into this trip being like, okay, I don't like mangoes, but I was like, okay, in the Philippines, I'm going to give mangoes one shot. Turns out, I just don't like mangoes in the US. Mangoes are a massive upgrade. It's like 2 different kinds of fruit, yes.
Definitely on that mango life too. Eat like dried mango too. I'm forgetting the name of the dish. It's the sweet sticky rice that begins with a B. Yes.
It was such a happy accident, I guess. In 2012, I was working as a psychologist, but I gave birth to my older son in June. And so I had left my job and I was going to go back to work as a psychologist and everything would kind of continue on that path. But somewhere in there we decided we were going to be moving across the country. And so for me what that meant was I couldn't look for a job and get a job in the city where I was living. So I had this like period of time where, you know, my son was finally starting to like sleep like a little bit, and I was feeling human again. And so I was like, okay, I've always wanted to write a book. I'm going to give it one shot, and that turned out to be Simon. And I don't think it was ever a question about, you know, I always wanted to write a novel, and I've always loved young adult novels. Like I have always been that, you know, adult and then like older adult and then older adult, like trolling and prowling around the young adult section, being like, you know, I'm meant to be here. I'm a teacher and a librarian, you know. And then finally, I'm just like, I own it. Like, I live here.
So this kind of goes back to December 2013 when Becky and I, we shared the same agent, Brooke Sherman, who sold our debut novels, More Happy and Simon, the same week, and we were so excited about each other's like book descriptions that like, you know, we kind of took it to emails to congratulate each other on the books and such, and then we just like traded manuscripts. So Becky read a version of More Happy Than Not that is like not published today. Like it had a lot of like a lot of changes were made in that book. But yeah, so it's just but we read each other's books. We were quickly obsessed. Becky was crying over More Happy Than Not. I was swooning from Simon. And then 2 months later, Becky was telling me a story that ultimately kind of prompted What If It's Us.
Yeah, it's the story that prompted What If It's Us. It's kind of a not safe for work story, so I'm gonna like gloss over it a little bit. If you're really curious, it is like on the internet in some places, but this is a story that took place in my early 20s when I was living in Washington, D.C. I had just some big expectations where I was gonna fall in love and have that perfect moment. And I, met a guy at a coffee shop, and he had wear plastic glasses, and so I knew he was husband material. And of course, I never had any game ever in my life, so I did not talk to him. We did make eye contact. And so my only move, of course, is to go to the internet and put up a post, a misconnection post, like being like, I saw you at this coffee shop, and like the idea is you hope that he is gonna look there too, and he's looking for me, and you have a do-over, and the universe would like give me a second chance. I did hear back from someone, and it was not my guy. And the arrangement that he proposed was not my life story. So that's where it gets not safe for work. But
I mean, but still, even this sort of like this pursuit to try to like find someone who you like felt some connection with, even based on like just a look, like that was so exciting for me, and just opened up this world of possibilities. So I kind of like, in response to this email, I was telling Becky, like, like how cool would it be if we did like a YA book like this, where it's like, two teens meet, and then they get separated, they find each other again, like they actually do reunite, but like in the complications that arise from their respective lives, like when they do. And that was a really bold move. Like, we had not met in real life, we hadn't even spoken on the phone. This was 6 weeks after just like emailing each other. And Becky's response was, yeah, and how cool would it be if this happened? And the ball just kept rolling from there. And Arthur and Ben became more and more real for us, and we just kept developing their stories over the next 3 years, and we finally sat down to write it last spring.
I wrote Arthur, Adam wrote Ben. There are even people who are out there on the internet being like this book is blatantly they wrote themselves into it. We're like, yeah.
Ding ding.
And they're not exactly like us, but Arthur is this little Jewish guy from Georgia, who loves Broadway and has ADHD, and this little brown hair, blue eyed guy, and he just has these really big romantic expectations, and maybe you're informed by rom-coms and musicals, and he really romanticizes life in general, and also New York.
And Ben is a born and raised New Yorker who is growing up in sort of socioeconomically challenged background like I did, and he's in summer school, and I went to summer school not once, not twice, 3 times. Always for science, sometimes for other subjects too, but always science. He loves video games, particularly Super Smash Brothers, and he is a big writer and kind of a daydreamer, and I was always focused on my stories instead of my studies, and which is why I ended up in summer school 3 years in a row. So I have a lot in common with Ben in that way too. It's like a group project where I actually feel like I carried my weight for once. I wasn't just the one who wasn't contributing.
It's like a group project where you don't have to worry that the other person isn't going to turn in their stuff.
Or they just write their name just to say that they were part of it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you know who I'm calling out, you clearly know who I went to school with. I'm still mad,
I don't know. I mean, honestly, it was the most fun we've ever had writing. Not just because we only had to write half a book, but that definitely plays a role. But honestly, writing books is so isolating, and we're both pretty kind of protective of who we let see our stuff at certain stages. I pretty much don't let anyone read anything that I do unless it's my agent or editor. And even then, I have to work up the nerve to share with them because they're just so protective of it. But we had to sort of knock down those walls sooner to be able to get this through, to get chapters through to each other. I can't take a month on a chapter because I'm trying to impress Becky. We are both professionals who understand that this is an early draft, and we will take it to its greatest heights once we're working with our editors too. But honestly, once we got past that, and even when we were still wading through it, it was just so much fun. Like we would, like Becky would send me a chapter, and I would like text her while I was reading it, and like, oh my god, here are my favorite lines. Here's where I'm swooning. Here's where I'm feeling emotional, and Becky would do the same. So it's like you get this immediate validation of like what's working in the book that you don't normally get when you're writing by yourself. The Upside of Unrequited has been like my go-to lately, like because I just like, so I have never seen Lord of the Rings or read the books, and I have a lot of friends who are like, how dare you write a fantasy book without seeing this, or reading it. So I think that like read would be an appropriate like person to like cuddle up with, age appropriately, and like watch like binge Lord of the Rings, like and then like I don't know, like romance.
I mean, that's gonna take like 10 years. That trilogy is like forever.
So long. That's my problem. The problem with the books too, like the dude will spend like pages describing a tree. Like
I cannot pick a favorite among Adam's characters. Today I would say, I think him and Mateo, it would just be like an extreme like Hufflepuff kind of moment.
it's how comes to not go into the kitchen.
I would be
You have your voice, like no one else can do that, you know? And I mean, for me, it was writing from this place of writing the books that I wasn't seeing, and writing things that felt the most personal to me. Like I had not seen any books about queer Puerto Ricans, and to this day, like I haven't seen any other books about gay Puerto Rican boys that I haven't written. And literally, if I'm missing something, tell me, because like it's, you know, and so that's like I want people to feel that they're in, you know, a space where they can like write their truth, and yeah, like, and by doing so, like you will find an incredible amount of people who are going to feel so grateful that that book exists, and even if they can't directly relate to it based on like your identity check, you know, markers and such, and like I meet just as many queer teens who don't identify as like male who appreciate the books as much as I do like queer boys, you know. So yeah, I just like, no one else can write a book in the voice that you already possess.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just to kind of add to that, you know, whatever your story is that you feel compelled to tell, like there you know, are going to be sometimes people kind of making grand statements like, we have enough sad LGBT books, like, you know, like, and speaking as somebody who's just spent a month at book signing sitting next to Adam Silvera, like, people need your sad books, people need your happy books, like, there is a reader for every kind of book. So whatever it is that your story is that is like closest to your heart, yeah, you know, it's just like, I just feel like, thank God, you know, Adam never listened to kind of some of those bold statements that we hear about sad books, because like there are people who have quotes from those sad books like tattooed on their bodies because they saved their lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Like this tour has really been eye-opening. Like just the range. Like readers don't come into this like, I will only read X kind of book. You know, like you will have someone start off like, Becky, like lay on the offbeat, it just made me so happy, da da da, and then it's like, oh my God, like history's really left me in my heart. Like, and it's like you are all capable of that range of emotions. Like, so it's really awesome. And then, you know, there are middle grounds as well. So just really like write the book that you feel is calling to you the most. I just don't have a particular process that I have to like, you know, like that I use across all books. I definitely don't have like a magic pen or like I can only write between 6:15 and 7:15. You know, like I write when I can and when I want to, and sometimes when I don't want to, and you know, but the process for me changes like book by book. Like more happy than not, I wrote. You know, when I was writing the first chapter, I outlined 2 and 3. When I was writing 2 and 3, I outlined 4 and 5, and I did that all the way up to the end, and they both dived in. I outlined the entire book from start to finish before I wrote a single page. History's What You Left Me, I wrote all the today section, then I wrote the history section, and then I pieced it all together. What If It's Us, I wrote with a completely other person. Like, these are all different ways to write a book, and yet they all produce a book at the end And so I say that writing is trial and error, and you just have to figure out what works best for you.
For me, a lot of what it comes down to is just the logistical, day-to-day factors of my life. So I do most of my writing with I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So when they're in school, that's my writing time usually.
I think when writing about mental health, you have to remember too that what something looks like for one person is very different for the rest of the community. I had written about OCD and anxiety, and I've had people with OCD read pictures they left me and be like, this doesn't look like my experience with OCD, and I'm like, cool, that's okay, I'm writing a story that feels true to the character that I'm writing about, and it's not intended to represent everybody with OCD. That's actually possible, but I definitely had some reservations with writing about suicide, and more happy than not, because I was like, oh, my mom's gonna read that, and I don't want my mom to know that these are thoughts that I've had growing up too, but for me, it was just it was impossible to not write about it, because I was bursting to say stuff. For me, I use fiction as therapy, allows me to have conversations on the page that I don't necessarily always feel brave having in real life, even amongst my trusted friends and such. So that's how I've always weighed it. For me, it is much more comfortable to sort of expel it through fiction and recognize sort of the benefits that can have both for myself and additional parties, and then use it as a conversation starter for the loved ones in my life who should be clued into these things that I'm going through.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love this question so much. I have kind of, in a jokey way, talked before about the experience that I had after my dad read Simon Verses. And my dad is a real jokester. The dad in Love, Simon is based on my dad. And so after he read Simon, he was like, let's talk about chapter 9. If anybody here has read chapter 9 of Simon, I'll just say it is the chapter that takes place in Simon's room and in his imagination. It's the chapter you wouldn't want your parents to read. So I'm like, Dad, let's never talk about chapter 9. But the story that I've never told is after my dad read The Upside of Unrequited. And there is a lot in the second book about body image and fat shaming, and a lot of the fat shaming that Molly experiences comes from kind of within her family. And growing up, for me, a lot of it came from my dad. And after my dad read The Upside of Unrequited, he's like, so that was a really illuminating read. And we clearly have a lot to talk about just what that was like for you growing up, and just so it was one of the most surreal moments of it. I've never talked about this in an event, but it was very strange, going from kind of my entire life of my dad kind of talking about that and that kind of stuff in a certain way as something that kind of I needed to fix, all the way to, I'm a grown-ass woman, and now he's sort of approaching the conversation from a place of, oh, maybe that was harmful, let's revisit that. And so that was really difficult but special, and it was maybe one of the most important reactions I've ever had to one of my books, at least personally.
So the question is sort of regarding the conversations that are had about where to place queer fiction. Do we give it its own category because it needs to sort of be its own section because it needs to be treated as something a little taboo, or does it exist for easier finding? And I used to work in bookstores, so I've seen this on every level. I've seen books books with queer characters included just in general fiction. I've also seen this at the shelves, and there's no perfect answer for this. I think if you are shelving it because you think it's taboo or whatever, then you suck. But but if you're doing it with the intent of making sure that the books are you know, easier to find for readers, and I support that. You know, like, what if it's us? Like, this is the cover that like we had conversations about, you know, because it's two boys checking each other out on the cover, and that is a clear signal what this book is. Like, no one is like looking at these boys thinking like, oh, I wonder which girls are going to hook up with. But it, you know, for us, it's like, this is an important cover to have because you shouldn't have to like go find your way to the, you know, queer fiction shelf that has like 30 books or whatever. Like, you should be able to see it and think like, oh, this is for me. But yeah, I just like, you know, there are also so many like great resources online that can better clue you into which books are for you, and like, and really break down like LGBTQ reads, right?
Yeah, LGBTQreads.com. It's Dahlia Adler's website that she curates. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, she really breaks down like, hey, this is a book that has like a trans character, this has like non-binary character, and it like it is so expansive, and so I can only imagine if I had that available to me in my youth. But like, as for, you know, there's pros and cons to separating books like that. I wish that, like, I think in a perfect world, you have enough books that, enough copies of these books that they can exist in a queer fiction section, but also be found in the general fiction as well. Because I don't think that these books should only be read by queer people. Like, we should all be opening up our minds and like reading outside ourselves. Seriously, thank you so much for coming out today and supporting, and of course, huge thank you to National Bookstore for bringing us out here. We have been talking about like wanting to meet you all for so many years now, and there was a chance we were going to be able to come last year, but we were like, National Bookstore, if you wait until one more year, you will have What If It's Us and Lee on the Off Feed, and so we waited a year, and we're so grateful that you guys have stuck around and been so patient and supported us for so many years now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a huge thank you, and it's very surreal for us because, like, some of y'all we have literally known for years. I mean, some of y'all we've known for 4 years, since before our first books came out, and you know, so it feels like coming home.
Hi guys, so I just got back from the Becky and Adam in PH event. I had so much fun. I ran into fellow Filipino booktuber Luis, and he said something that I totally agreed with, and that it's great the National Bookstore has all these author events and that we get to meet these authors, but also a huge part of these author events is getting to run into fellow bookworms and people who share the same interests as you. I met up with so many of my friends who I haven't seen in a long time. This is probably one of my favorite author events so far in terms of venue because super near the food court. So while you're waiting for your number to get called, you can go downstairs, grab a bite, go back up. The whole venue is air conditioned. Everyone is guaranteed seats because it was set in a hall that I think it's used as a theater most of the time, so everyone has seats. I loved it. I got to film a huge chunk of the Q&A session, as you probably have already seen. And I'm looking forward to more events. I'm really glad National Bookstore has these events. And that about does it for my Becky and Adam in PH vlog. You can follow me on my other bookish adventures on Twitter and Instagram, both at Cuckoo for Books. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye guys!